Good morning, everyone. My name is Stefano De Clara, and I'm the head of the ICAP Secretariat. ICAP is the International Carbon Action Partnership, and we are an international partnership that brings together governments and public authorities that jointly work under the auspices of ICAP to advance the development and implementation of emission trading systems globally. Today's webinar will focus on the latest developments and prospects for the emission trading system in China, which has been since its launch a few years ago at the front and center of ETS developments globally, and has caught even more attention and has made headlines in recent months because it has expanded beyond the power sector, which was the only sector initially covered, to start including industrial sectors as well. Today's webinar has two main objectives. We will talk about this latest development in the Chinese ETS, and we'll try to understand what it is about actually, and how the Chinese emission trading system went on to expand to additional sectors. But we will also shamefully use this webinar as an opportunity to draw attention to the fact that we have updated the ICAP ETS status report. As you may know, once a year, ICAP publishes a what we call the emission trading status report, which provides a snapshot of the global state of play in ETS implementation. The 2025 edition of the report was launched shortly before the expansion of the Chinese ETS, and given that given the significance and the importance of this development in China, we decided to do a half-year update of the report to make sure that the data and the information in the report is up to date to reflect the expansion of the Chinese ETS. So on one hand, today we will be talking and delving into the expansion of the Chinese ETS, but we also want to use this as an excuse and as an opportunity to draw your attention on the updated ICAP status report. We will do so over the next 90 minutes or so, and on the screen you can see how we will go about doing that. So very shortly, I will be done with my welcome and introductions, and I will be handing the floor to my colleague Jibin Chen at the ICAP Secretariat, who will be presenting the key highlights from the updated status report, and will also start to unpack the developments in China. We'll then hand it over to Hongmin Liu from the Environmental Defense Fund in China, who will delve even deeper into the latest developments in China and in the Chinese ETS. After that, we'll go into a panel discussion with an excellent set of panelists, which I will introduce later on. And last but not least, before coming to a close, we are keen to reserve some time for Q&A with the audience. To do that, you can put questions and comments in the chat and Q&A function of the webinar. You can also do so as we go through the presentation. So even well before getting to the Q&A, feel free to put questions in, and that will help us in addressing them later on. Also, as a quick reminder, this webinar is fully public and open to the broad public. We are recording this webinar, and the recording will be made available on the ICAP website together with the presentations we will use today. This is just to prevent the usual questions about whether presentations will be made available or whether the recording will be posted. You will find both things in a couple of days on the ICAP website. With that, I think that is it in terms of housekeeping remarks. I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. And I'll be handing the floor to my colleague Jibin to start delving into the substance of the webinar. Thank you all for being with us, and Jibin, the floor goes to you.
Thank you, Stefano. Hi, everyone. I'm Jibin Chen from ICAP, and I'm following the development in ETS development in China. So today I'm very glad to be here with a lot of great speakers to discuss the latest development of China ETS. And thank you again for joining us. So right now I will quickly introduce the key updates of our status report. And I believe most of you know about ICAP and know about our annual status report. But for those who hasn't read it, this report is our annual flagship publication, and it has 9 great ETS infographics. You can use it in your research or your presentation to show the latest development of all the compliance carbon market in the world. And we also have 58 fact sheets on all the compliance market in force, under development or being considered in the world. So if you want to know the details of each carbon market, please go and download our report. And here are the key trends we summarize from 2024. Actually, we didn't update this part, but I highlight some trends here. For example, the second and the third one says the second one says hybrid and intensity-based systems are shaping the next generation of ETS designs, and the use of offset credits is also being essential in the design of new ETS or carbon market. So this is exactly what China is doing. China is an intensity-based system, and China is using credits in ETS for compliance. So China is leading this trend. And also the third one, established system keep evolving. And one important element is scope expansion. So that's exactly what we are talking about in China. So we see the trends we summarize in our report get approved or get demonstrated by the new development in China. So let's go to the updates. Why we do the update? Because this year on March 20th, the Ministry of Ecology and Environment, we usually call it MEE for short. So MEE released a work plan to expand the sector coverage of the national ETS, which means 3 new sectors will be covered by the national ETS, that's cement, steel, and aluminum sectors. So previously, China ETS only covered power sector, and now it add 3 new industrial sectors. And these 3 new industrial sectors, they need to do the first compliance at the end of this year. And this will cover the emissions of 2024 retrospectively. So even though the official work plan is this year, but it covers the emission from 2024. So that's why we need to update it, because our report reflects the trend in 2024. And with this expansion, that will bring additional 1,500 companies into the China National ETS. And it will increase the total CO2 equivalent covered by around 3 billion tons. And that will be around 5% of global emission. So that's a big step forward for China and for the whole world. So with this new development, we update our report. Here is one infographic we update. Before the expansion, all the ETS in the world covered 10 gigatons CO2 equivalent, and is around 19% of global GHG emission. But after the sector expansion in China ETS, it covers 2 gigatons more, and now the percentage increased to 23%. So you may remember in the previous slide I said the 3 new sectors increased around 3 gigatons, but now we see 2 gigatons increase. What is the why there is a difference? Because there are also regional carbon markets in China. And this regional carbon market also covered cement, steel, and aluminum before. And now, when the national ETS covers these new sectors, the regional ETS will exclude these new sectors in the regional market, so that will reduce some emission covered in the regional market. And we did the estimation with the World Bank, and with this increase in national and decrease in regional, right now we estimate it will increase 2 gigatons in general. So that's why you see the number here. And another infographic we update is the global expansion of ETS infographic. Before the expansion, we see 2024 and 2025, the number in these 2 years is lower than 2023 because some jurisdiction like EU reduce its emission. But after the sector expansion, we see 2024 and 2025 is significantly higher than the number in 2023 because of the sector expansion in China. And right now, as I already mentioned, all the ETS covered 23% of global GHG emission. And only China ETA, China national ETS itself, covers 15% of global GHG emission. So it also say how big or how important China ETS to the world. And we also update this sector coverage infographic. Previously, China national ETS only covers power sector and only covers 36% of the GHG emission in China. But with the sector expansion covers to the 3 new industrial sectors, right now it covers around 60% of GHG emission in China. So a lot of emission in China are already under carbon price system. So it's a significant step forward for China. So that these are the updates in the infographic, and of course we update the China fact sheet itself, so you can find more details. For example, we update the total GHG emission and also the GHG gas covered. So right now, China not only covered CO2 emission, but also CF4 emission and C2F6 emission. For these 2 industrial gas emission, it only covered in the aluminum smelter sector during the industrial process. And for steel and for cement and for power sector, it only covers CO2. Yeah, so that we update more details here, and also we update the cap, we update the coverage, and we update the number of entities, the allocation method. There are not much details yet, but we also update all the public available information. So you can find the details of the latest sector expansion in China in our fact sheet. So please go ahead and read more details. So these are the major update of our report. I will not go into the details because our speakers will bring more details, more first-hand information, and I'm very looking forward to their input. Thank you very much. Back to you, Stefano.
Thank you, Jibin. And just a reminder to everyone that what Jibin just presented is indeed available in the updated status report, which you can find on the ICAP website for overall data and statistics on the state of play in ETS globally and in China specifically. To delve even deeper into the latest developments in China, I want to go to Hongmin next. And Hongmin Liu is the a director for carbon market program at the Environmental Defense Fund in China. Hongmin is a long-standing friend and partner for ICAP on many different projects, many different fronts. And out of the EDF Beijing office, he is an expert on addressing climate change with carbon pricing. He joined EDF in 2017. He manages the work of on the Chinese national ETS as well as on the Chinese voluntary carbon market, which we'll also take a look at later in the webinar. He also follows closely industrial decarbonization as well as the work related to reducing emissions from international aviation and shipping. I'm seeing a question about aviation in the Q&A chat already, so I'm sure we will get into that in a second as well. But before that, EDF has recently published a really excellent report on the state of play in the Chinese carbon market, and I'll give the floor to Hongmin for a quick overview of the latest developments and achievement to date. Hongmin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stefano, and thanks to ICAP's invitation for this really great events. And as introduced by Stefano and Jibin, there's a lot of development for China's national ETS right now. And I would like to use some keywords for highlighting what is happening and what's the facts for the China national ETS. So for now, China national or China carbon market system has two elements. One is the national ETS and one is the national voluntary market, which is more crediting system. And now these two markets are formed the China national carbon market system. And let's see one by one. And as Jibin just introduced, for the expansion of the China national ETS from one sector to the four sectors are covered now, there was increased 3 billion of the emissions and increased 1,500 entities. And other than that, there's actually some newly updates or the key design elements updates for the China national ETS, which is we can see for the compliance cycle previously, there was only once every 2 years, but now starting from 2024, the compliance year is the compliance requirements once a year, and also for the allocation, we still it's output-based benchmark and with free allocation. There's no auctions anymore, and not yet. And also for the cap setting, there's no absolute cap, and offset is only 5% utilizing the CCER or the voluntary emission reductions in China for offsetting the compliance obligation. And for the MRV, actually starting from 2015, China has already collecting all 8 sectors for the emission data, which is the 4 covered sector and the 4 another high emitting sectors, which are the petrochemical and the chemical and paper making and also the aviation. And also we can see there's comparison for the previous ETS requirements and now the requirements, which is the most updated is for now, starting from compliance years of 2024, China national ETS has no longer cover the scope 2 emission for the national ETS, which is similar to the situation of EU ETS. And other than that, I think most of them are I've already introduced. And also for the trading commodity, for now it's only spot market trading. It's no future products. And there is the price of the market. We can see actually here is the annual or the based on compliance cycle price, we can see for the past 3 compliance cycle, the price is increased like 20 yuan per year, which is like $3 per compliance cycle. And for this year's, we can see it's still a little bit lower, like around 10 US dollars, but we can see because this is only August, which is still 3 months until the end of the compliance cycle. So my personal belief is it will be increase the price when it's facing the end of the compliance cycle. And here's the report that Stefano mentioned. We actually published this in July for the English version when we're at the Asian Climate Summit, also co-organized by the ICAP and SP and EDF. So in this report, alongside with the facts of the China National ETS and also the CCR, we also trying to answer the question we listed here, which is all the questions are behind the scene, like why China ETS are designing the key elements as of now, like why we chose the intensity-based approach, why there's no absolute cap, and how we improve the MRV for the China National ETS, and how China ETS is considering for the flexibility in compliance to avoid the excessive burden for the companies. So if you would like to learn more, you can scan the QR code and to see the English version. And then for today, actually, this is the event we would like to publish our Chinese version. So the Chinese version is newly updated and published. So, and also according to the publish of the Chinese version, we actually updated the previous English version a little bit for more accurate expression on the ideas and the wording. So please feel free to download it. And there's the email address. You can reach out to us to give us any feedbacks and comments on the report. And regarding to the CCR, which is the voluntary carbon market for the China National ETS, we can see there's only 6 methodology published right now, and the competent department is not only the Ministry of Ecology and Environment, it's also managed by the SAMR. And to date, the new CCR program is generated 9.48 million ton of the new credits, which is a lot of people may know that the CCR program, the voluntary carbon market, was started back into 2012, and was suspended in 2017 because of the update of the regulation and also some of the not good credits issued. And so now the new system relaunched in 2024. So we can see this is the new system, and you can see the details in the report too. And the registration of the new credits is the ME affiliated research think tanks are responsible for the registration, and also the trading, which is the NCIC, and also the trading platform is the Beijing Green Emission Exchange. And there's also a comparison between the old CCR program and the new CCR program. And the big difference is the methodologies. Now it's only 6 methodologies, and the previous is 200. And also for the registered projects, it's only 26 projects registered right now. And for the compliance obligation can offset by the CCR, it's only 5% for now. And previous there's no national ETS approved. And also let's look forward whether I believe there's still the local pilots can, or the local carbon market can use the CCR, but the price is really high. So let's see how it will evolve in the future. And so now here's the price. It's by 2025, the end of the July. The price is the average price is about 85 yuan in Chinese, and also it's about $12 US. It's really high as a if take as a voluntary credits, but like I said, it's like a crediting system, and it has the ability to offset the obligation compliance obligation in China national ETS. So that's why the price is really high. So here's still the QR code. So feel free to download it to and spread it and to reach out to us to give us any feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Hongmin, for the excellent overview. And I'm seeing that your presentation is already triggering some questions. I'm sure we'll come back to you in the Q&A segment of the webinar. Before we do that, I will invite you to stay with us for the panel discussion, obviously, but would also like to invite the other panelists to join me on the virtual stage, which mainly means please turn your camera on. And for the panel discussion, as Jibin was also saying, we are lucky to have an excellent set of panelists, which will help us now making sense and unpacking some of these latest developments. So beyond Hongmin, who again will stay with us on the panel, I'm also delighted to welcome Johannes Ensman, a senior expert for international carbon markets in the International Carbon Market Unit at DG Klima with the European Commission. Johannes has around 3 decades of experience in the European Commission, and the last 2 decades of his tenure at the European Commission were dedicated to energy and climate topics. Since 2006, Johannes has worked on the review of the EU ETS and its subsequent implementation. Then, since 2013, he has moved to be in charge of bilateral cooperation on emission trading with China, and as of October 2018, he's also coordinating the implementation of the linking agreement between the EU and Switzerland on the linked emission trading system. So Johannes is someone who has long experience with the EU ETS, with international markets and market diplomacy, and last but not least, has also engaged and worked with China closely for a number of years. Next to Johannes, we're also joined by Dr. Wenya Han, the director of the Department of Economics, Policy Research at the Policy Research Center for the Environment and Economy at the Chinese Ministry of Ecology and Environment. Dr. Benya Han is currently the director and associate researcher of the Economic Department at the Policy Research Center in MEE. She also serves as the Deputy Director of the Green Trade and Investment Committee of the Chinese Society for Environmental Science. She also has extensive experience in areas such as policy research on the implementation of international environmental conventions, on environmental statistics, and broader environmental and economic analysis. In this context, Wenya has participated closely in drafting policy documents for the Ministry of Ecology and Environment, and she is currently leading her department in supporting the national carbon market policy for the ministry. We will also be joined today by Professor Julie at the a research associate professor with the Institute of Energy, Environment and Economy at Tsinghua University in China. Professor Li is an associate researcher at Tsinghua University. She is also the deputy director of the China Carbon Market Research Center. Her research focuses on key technologies and national policies related to climate change and energy issues. She has led and participated in a number of major international national and international research projects focusing on carbon markets, on emission trading systems, and on climate policy more broadly. She has published extensively in leading academic journals and has contributed to several influential reports on the Chinese carbon market development. So we couldn't have literally a better set of panelists to go through and analyze the recent developments that Jibin and Hongmin gave us an overview of. I would like to start the panel discussion with Wenya. And we all know that July 16, 2025, so a couple of weeks ago, we marked and celebrated the fourth anniversary of the launch of the Chinese national emission trading system. And in this context, and in a situation where we can reflect and look back at 4 years of operation of the Chinese ETS, I would like to ask you if you could provide us a brief overview of the most recent developments, but also the achievements of the Chinese ETS to date. Wenya, the floor is yours.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you, Stefano. I'm delighted to attend today's event, and I participate in the drafting of the 2024 China Carbon Market Development Report, which was issued last year in the carbon market conference in Wuhan, in China. And I'm currently involved in the drafting of the 2025 report. My feeling is that as a globally applicable policy tool for addressing climate change, mutual learning is very important. And today, I have learned some information from Mr. Zhibing and Mr. Hongmin, which is very helpful for me. And China actively draws on international experience and lessons, and through pilot exploration has established a carbon market that is in line with its own actual situation. And now, despite the fragmentation of the global economy and challenges to global climate governance, China is committed to promoting the development of the carbon market, providing acceleration for the global carbon pricing mechanism, and offering experience and reference for other developing countries. So I think the communication for today's event is very important. And regarding the development of national carbon market over past 4 years, just now Mr. Zhibing and Mr. Hongmin have mentioned a lot. We think the institutional system continues to be improved, and the industry and greenhouse gas coverage are expanding, and the market vitality has steadily improved. So I will not repeat them here. So I want to mainly talk about the main development achievements of the national carbon market. First, the carbon market is gradually playing a role in incentivizing advanced and constraining backward, and the awareness of the enterprises that carbon emission have costs and carbon reduction have benefits is constantly increasing. The ability to control carbon emission has significantly improved. So as you know, at present, all key emission units in the power generation industry have established internal control system for carbon emission management, incorporating carbon asset management into daily production and operation activities. Over the past 3 years, Almost 300 key emission units in the power generation industry have achieved a quarter turnaround through low carbon technology transformation, production process optimization, and other measures, with a total supplies quarter of 40 million tons. So this is the first. And the second, carbon market drives green and low carbon technical innovation in power generation enterprises. For example, in 2021, Huaneng Group's Yiming Coal Electricity Company started construction on the longest heating project in China's high altitude regions. After the project was put into operation, it replaced many scattered boilers. In addition, the implementation of technologies such as low temperature waste heat utilization and large temperature difference transportation, etc., improved energy utilization efficiency. And the total carbon emissions were reduced up to around 1 million tons in 2 years. And the third, carbon emission statistical counting capability has been continuously enhancement. The China government regards the data quality management as a very fundamental and critical task in market construction. We established a monthly certification system, formed a specialized technical support system, and rapidly improved the carbon emission statistics and accounting capabilities of key emission units. At present, the standardization, accuracy, and timeliness of carbon emission counting have been greatly optimized, matching the need of the stable market operation. China market data also provides support for the formulation and the release of annual electricity emission factors, regional power grid baseline emission factors, and the establishment of a sound carbon footprint management system. So this is our main achievement of the national carbon ETS. And that's all what I want to share, and looking forward to more discussion with you. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Wenya, for the excellent overview. I want to go to Johannes next. And Johannes, as someone who has worked with and engaged with China and with the Chinese ETS for a long time, I wanted to ask you, first of all, what you think and what you make of the latest developments, but also in light of the developments that we just talked about, I wanted to ask you what areas you think will need to be further improved as the Chinese ETS moves forward. I mean, as we all know, emission trading systems are constantly reviewed and revised and improved. And I wanted to ask you if, again, you could point us to a few areas that you think could be improved going forward. Thank you, Johannes.
Yeah, thank you, Stefano. Thank you for inviting me and having me in this interesting webinar. With respect to your questions, I think you're absolutely right that emission trading systems more or less never will come at a point where they are not further developing. There is a constant need for review to adapt it to new circumstances and to make them, to improve them. And this, of course, also goes for the Chinese system, but we've heard, and I fully agree with what Mrs. Han has said, has achieved already quite a lot and has developed a huge potential also to do more. However, when it comes to, if you ask me what what could be improved, I think there are, of course, a number of things which could be improved, but that depends also very much on what the Chinese system is meant to achieve. And I think so far we clearly have a slightly different objective compared to the EU ETS. So what China wants and what it is successfully doing is controlling emissions. It's not so much a matter of reducing them, it's more and above all a matter of controlling them. And I think in that respect, the Chinese ETS is very successful. The intensity-based system still allows to reduce emissions in line with overall objectives of the government. It could be done, but what we've seen when looking at the benchmarks in the power sector over the 3 or 4 allocation plans which have been published so far is that the values are very, very slowly moving downwards. So the overall improvement of CO2 intensity, I think could be higher. Let's put it this way. But I think this is in line with what the Chinese system is meant to do. Another point is transparency, which from our point of view and looking at other ETS, in particular the EU ETS, is slightly different or quite different compared to the EU. Having said this, I'm not saying that the current level of transparency in the Chinese ETS is not sufficient for the current state of the Chinese ETS. I think what the level of information which is given out may be sufficient for each company, because the companies, they are focusing to be in compliance so that they have enough sufficient number, sufficient quantity of allowances when it comes to surrendering, when it comes to approaching the compliance deadline. And that's why we have this phenomenon of tidal trading, which could be seen a little bit on Hongmin's slide with the prices, and on the bottom there was the volumes, and you could see that every year when it comes to the compliance date, the volume of allowances traded increase. So this is, so from that point of view, the level of transparency might be sufficient. However, we probably all have heard that the Chinese President Xi Jinping in April informed a group of Chinese leaders, and I think it has been published in the Chinese press, at least I saw an article on that, that China will go to an absolute nationwide emission cap as from 2030, very likely. This also implies very likely a cap to the ETS sooner or later. It could be in line with the nationwide system. It could be a nationwide cap. It could be sooner. It could also be later. That depends. We don't know yet. However, when it comes to an absolute cap to the Chinese ETS, I think then we have some new elements. We may have what I would call a carbon constraint, which for the time being does actually not really exist, at least not for those companies in the Chinese ETS, in particular in the power sector, which are performing better than the average, which are performing better than the benchmark. And the benchmark is set in a manner so that at least half of the Chinese electricity production is generated by technologies which are, in terms of CO2 intensity, better than the average. So in that respect, I think transparency will have a different role to play, and I think then there is considerable room for improvement once it comes to that. Otherwise, the market would not be able to work. Another point that is related to transparency is, of course, trading. When we come to trading, I already mentioned the tidal trading. We saw this the graph from Hongming. So I think this is something which goes which comes along with a lack of liquidity. And that is also very well understandable. And I think it is clear that trading is not an end in itself, and it may not be necessary in the Chinese ETS as it is designed for the time being beyond the manner which is currently happening. But these current features of the Chinese ETS may change once a clear carbon constraint is introduced. And I think if China, and if there can be, in my view, no doubt, because China always kept its promises in terms of climate policies and even went beyond them, so met them earlier. Now we have already a level of renewable energy which China promised to have by 2030. Now it already met them in 2025. So that is what we can expect from China. And that's why I'm 100% sure that when China says it will be climate neutral, it will cover all greenhouse gases by 2060, make them neutral, then it will be done. But this will also mean that, or in my understanding at least, that the Chinese carbon market would need to contribute to this objective. And that means that it's not only a matter of control anymore, it's a matter of reducing emissions. And I'm pretty sure that China does not want to reduce emissions at higher costs than necessary. I think this is what the beauty of emissions trading is, to achieve certain emission reductions at least costs. And that I'm pretty sure that China would like to benefit from this beauty as well. So we are more or less quite confident that this is going to happen in the years to come, but that would change a number of important features which are currently in place. We all know that the Chinese authorities will introduce auctioning. We don't know exactly when exactly, but I think the idea is there, and we are going to work. We are going to work on that in the framework of our cooperation in the months to come. When doing that, I think then there are a number of questions which would arise in the Chinese ETS, such as, for instance, what is the objective of auctioning from a regulatory perspective? Because under the current system, allocation is not so much a matter. I think it is relatively clear. The only thing which is not clear and which could also be improved is more predictability with respect to the benchmark values, because benchmark values only apply for 1 year, for one compliance period, and then there will be new ones. I think having more certainty on that would increase certainty also for companies. But okay, with respect to auctioning, I think the objective of auctioning from a regulatory perspective would need to be defined clearly, and I think then there are ways to do it in not in a manner as we have it in Europe, but in effective and efficient manner under Chinese circumstances. That can be done because we know that a number of regional emission trading systems in China do auctioning for quite some years. So it's not only Guangdong, I think it's Shanghai, Shenzhen, and also Beijing. Yeah, and finally, then there is, and I'm sure that Hongming will come to that as well. We are now with the launch of the CCR market in spring this year. I think we have now the compliance market on the Chinese emission trading system, and we have an increasing voluntary market, CCR market. And Hongming already mentioned that entities under the emission trading system have the right to use up to 5% of their verified emissions to offset them with CCR credits. which is fine, but I think we are quite far away from really doing that, because supply from the voluntary market is still very small. Prices which I heard are above the prices on the compliance market, and that's why there is probably no demand from the compliance market to the CCR market. So you could also see it from a different side, and that's what I would like to go to. Is that overall prices in the compliance market seem to be too low in order to trigger, under the current circumstances, to trigger more investment in abatement measures. So since obviously there are also some political considerations which prevent the government from, let's be bluntly, pushing inefficient companies out of the market. I think that's why prices would need to be higher in order to increase overall CO2 efficiency, in particular in the power sector. As for the new sectors, we don't know yet. 2024, even including them retroactively in the CN ETS, doesn't change anything for the three sectors. They will get exactly the amount of allowances which corresponds to their emissions. In 25-26, there is a gradual introduction of the benchmarks in very similar, and when you may correct me if I'm wrong, but very similar to the approach that is applied to the power sector. And only as from 27, I think we will see some more stringent benchmark values also for the new sectors, and then I think the game changes a little bit. But until that, I think they can very well prepare in terms of monitoring and reporting. This is of course also a challenge, but will not be forced to go into difficult or expensive abatement measures. Okay, I'm gonna stop here now, and we may come back to one or the other aspect during the discussion. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Johannes, for the very comprehensive comment. You did touch on a number of topics that I want to come back to as part of the panel discussion and Q&A. But before that, I want to go to Professor Zhu now, and I also want to still stay on the topic of review and improvements. And I wanted to ask you, because in addition to what we just talked about, so in addition to expanding the coverage to new sectors, China is also continuously improving the ETS in the sector that is already covered. So in the power sector, and there is a continuous improvement of market rules, of allocation methods for entities in the power sector. So I wanted to ask you if you could give us a quick overview of the latest developments in this area. The floor is yours.
Hello, thank you, Stefano. I would like to share some information about this part, and I would like to share my PPT file. Wait a moment. Can you see now? So my PPT is shown now? I'm sorry.
Yep, yeah, it's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So just now, Hongmin introduced some big changes of the China's national ETS, and for my part, I want to give you some more detailed information. Hongmin mentioned we have some new sectors, we have new gases, we also have new CCER methodologies, and also for the current power sector, we also have some new allocation allowance method. This is announced in this year, June. So we want to see what are these changes and why we need these changes. So I listed about 7 parts, which is 1 is normal indirect emissions. 4, we have a new calculation method. 2023, we have new benchmark. We have new banking rules and borrowing rules, and we have also have new pre-allocation baseline, and also we have new compliance period. So I will introduce quickly one by one. For first one, we don't have the indirect emissions. This is also always talk about for the new three sectors. Actually, for the power sector, before we do the calculation, we also mentioned the indirect emissions. But for now, the annual indirect emissions is cancelled. The main reason is the annual indirect emissions of this part is accounting less than less than a very small part of the total emission in the whole industry. And we want to get the data very good, and then we have to pay a lot of effort. So based on this consideration, we think we cancel this part is not very is more suitable for the current management consideration. So this part is not considered anymore. And the second part, we have a very new calculation method. For this part, we have totally four changes. The first one is the power supply capacity is changed to the power generation capacity. The main reason is the power supply capacity is calculated. This means when you get this number, you have to do a lot of calculation. And during this calculation, it is have the difficulty in calculation and also the verifying. So it is really hard to measure the power sector for this parameter. So this leads some difficulty and risk in the actual data reporting. So we changed to the power generation capacity. This parameter is more easy to get. The second is we cancel the correction factors for the cooling method. That means as the power supply capacity is changed to the power generation capacity, so this factor is no longer suitable and it is naturally cancelled. The third is we cancel the correction factor for the heat supply. We have a lot of discussion for this part. The main reason is due to the uncertainty of the heat supply ratio required for the calculation this factor. The verification and the calculation are both very difficult. So in the new method, we cancel this part, but we want to realize realize the reasonable incentive for those heat supply. So the heat supply benchmark values are adjusted. And the fourth part is the load output coefficient correction factor is adjusted to the which is called the peak shaving correction, and the applicable scope is also modified. The back story about this part is the initial number we see the data from the statistic from the last few years, and we see the weighted average load rate of the conventional coal-fired units in 2023 is about 65%. So that means if we still use the 85%, this is not aligned with the actual situation. So the latest adjustment of the scope is more suitable with the actual situation of the enterprises. But I say that it still not means that this parameter is a perfectly expressed the impact of the peak shaving. Just to say that for the peak shaving environment influence, we found a better way to solve this problem, but it can't be said that it is the best. And for the third part is for the benchmark. This is not very, we don't have much changes for this part, but we updated the relevant values. You can see the, oh, sorry. And you can see the main basis, the decrease is about 0.5%. The consideration is about the potential for the reduction that be achieved through the overall energy efficiency improvement and also the technological advancement of the power unit. So that means we don't want to push much pressure for the power industry and also for the power enterprises. So the number is not high as some people expected. And the fourth part was we have the new banking rules. Actually, in the past, the allowances could be banked to the other year, so the enterprises are not willing to sell them. So that influence the market. So now we have the banking rules. The one part is the basic banking volume. So all the enterprises have the basic 10,000 tons, which means the enterprises could use this part to flexibly use the transaction to make the transaction plans and to bank after they fulfilling their obligations. The other part is to encourage them to banking, which is the 1.5 times the selling volume of the enterprise during this period. So that means for the enterprises, the more the net selling volume, they have the greater the banking amount. So this will help the enterprises to sell them allowances in the market. So it will help to enhance the volatility of the market transaction. So this is a very important signal for the market, I think. The fifth part is about the borrowing rules. For the second period, it is designed to address the situation where some enterprises have very tight allowances when they are facing much higher pressure. So we allow them to borrow some allowances from the next years. But for the current design, there's no borrow. So you can not borrow from the following years, and also the allowances in 2024 cannot be used for the compliance of 2023 and also for the previous years. So this will enhance the market volatility and also provide the market with clearer expectations. I think it is also important for the other new sectors too. The sixth part is we have the new pre-allocation baseline. You can see that the proportion value has not changed. Is still the 70%. However, the date changed. The year changed. For the first period is the 2018, and the second period is 2021, and this period it is called the previous years. That is because we have the better data foundation, and so the base year can be updated more quickly to reduce the risk. And maybe some enterprises have very special business operations, so this is a better solution for the current situation. For the seventh part is we have the new compliance period. This is also mentioned by Hongming. For the past two periods, this is the two compliance years, and in the new plan we set a compliance deadline for each year at the end of each year. That means the compliance year is once a year. So it will effectively promote the business transactions and enhance the market activity. So we can see we have a lot of changes for just the power sector, and we can observe some preferred choice made by the authorities, such like they want to keep the calculation method as simple as possible to make the data availability high, want to easy to get the data verification, and want to have a relatively reasonable measurement cost, and do not want to impose the much pressure on the industries or the enterprises, and also want to get a better market activity, like something else. So although the allocation methods are not published yet for the new 3 sectors, I think we can learn from these changes. These considerations are also applicable in the selection of the allowance allocation methods for the newly covered industries. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Zhu, for the excellent overview. I would like to go back to Hongmin now, and at the same time, we will start to move towards the Q&A segment of the webinar. And Hongmin, I'm keen to ask you about auctioning. Johannes mentioned that we did get a few questions and comments in the chat already. So I wanted to ask you, to elaborate on whether and how the Chinese national ETS is considering the implementation of auctioning as an allocation method, what you expect on this front, and what are the main challenges associated with introducing auctioning in the Chinese ETS, and what measures could be taken to overcome them. Floor is yours, Hongmin. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for the question. I think first of all, we have to say, from my personal perspective, I strongly believe the auction is really needed for the future development for the China national ETS, because it's like Johannes said, it helps to explore the effective carbon price for the China national ETS, and also can help liquidify for or help increasing the liquidity of the China national ETS. And for currently, I believe there's a lot of focus on or attention for understanding how China national ETS would introduce the auction. But I cannot say anything for the government, but from my perspective, the auction introduced in China would be several steps or still a lot of aspects need to be fully understood and researched. Firstly, because by understanding the international experience, like California and EU, like in California, there's another format of the auction was the consignment, which is the government are not managing the raised funding by the auction directly, but also will give the revenue from the auction back to the enterprises directly. And this is different from the ETS. And I believe in China it will facing definitely. There's another point I have to highlight is for the auction, definitely it will not also helping to explore the carbon price, but also help to raise more funding for addressing climate change, and especially give a signal for the private sector for funding more climate finance in the future for the addressing climate change. So I believe how to manage the funding, and it's a question that needs to be answered by the China national ETS, and also how to introduce the auction would be the question need to be answered by the China national ETS. Like what's the percentage of the auction should be started? Like in Guangdong pilots at the beginning, like 3% of the allowances or the ETS allowances was subject to be auctioned. And so that's the question need to be answered. And how, because also managing for the revenue generated by the national ETS. That's actually not the responsibility. That is not the responsibility of the Ministry of Environment and Ecology and Environment, which is now the corresponding managing department of the national ETS. It was subject to cooperation or coordination by the Ministry of Ecology and Environment and the Ministry of Finance or the other financial related departments. So I think these are the two major tasks needs to be research and understand. And another point is how to manage the risks and prevent any market failure of the illegal or manipulate of the market would be another point needed to be more fully researched and understand and regulated before introduce of the auction.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hongmin. Yep. I will now start to go through the questions we received in the Q&A box, and I will start with CBAM, which did receive quite a few votes from people. So it is obviously a question that is at the top of people's mind. And I will ask these questions to the panel more broadly. So I'm happy for any panelist to come in and answer them. And I mean, question about CBAM. So first of all, for those of you that don't know it, CBAM is the carbon border adjustment mechanism that Europe has recently announced and is actively implementing. The question basically asks what the Chinese ETS means for CBAM and what CBAM means for the Chinese ETS. And practically speaking, is the amount already paid within the Chinese ETS for compliance discounted from the CBAM obligation that importers into the EU will have to pay. Again, happy for anyone to take it. I see that quite a few of you have come back on camera. So if you would like to take this question, feel free to come in. Who wants to go first? If no one wants to take the bait, maybe I will ask Johannes, knowing that CBAM is not in your direct remit, but can you just say a couple of words about how it broadly works and how it is planning to recognize the carbon price paid, conscious that implementing details still have to be determined. And then maybe I will ask someone between Hongmin, Professor Zhu, or Venia to talk about how they see CBAM interacting with the Chinese ETS.
Yeah, thank you, Stefano. So first of all, I would really like to refrain from explaining CBAM because everybody who is dealing with it knows probably more than I do. But what I can say is that when it comes to CBAM and the Chinese ETS and whether the costs on the Chinese ETS can be accounted for under CBAM, I think then we come to an issue probably, because then I would first of all ask, if I were in control in implementing CBAM, what are the costs under the Chinese ETS? And then this is a very difficult question, because most of the companies, or those companies which are producing better than the benchmark, they get more allowances than they need, so they can sell allowances. So they would not face any cost at all. Yeah? So I think this would be the very first thing which I would say. So for the time being, and the current design of the Chinese ETS, I don't think that, at least from my not really very much inside point of view that the Chinese ETS matters a lot for CBAM. So it will be difficult to demonstrate that there are carbon costs paid under the Chinese ETS for specific products exported to the EU, I think, on the basis of what we currently know.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, always worth reminding, in the sense that CBAM can give exemptions. Again, rules for the exemptions will still be, they still need to be published, so we'll see what they look like. But it is that importers can deduct the price effectively paid in the country of origin, but effectively paid means that they need to demonstrate that they actually paid a price for those allowances. So, you know, the average price in the system, so to speak, is not probably the key parameter to be taken into account, but importers willing to demonstrate that they actively had to purchase allowances, for example, which is obviously could be an issue for systems that are largely freely allocated. On to the next question. Hopefully, this will be an easier one. There was a question around the 2035 climate target for China that President Xi Jinping has recently committed to. And the question was asking basically, where does the ETS fit in that target, and whether and how the ETS will be aligned with the 2035 target. Can I get a volunteer for that question?
I think this is rather for the Chinese colleagues than for me.
Anyone wants to take the question around? Oh, I see Wenia as unmuted. Thank you.
Yeah. So China has already made a very good plan for to have a good development of the Chinese ETS, and in May 2025, the options on promoting green and low carbon transformation and strengthening the construction of national carbon market has been issued, and the public version will be released soon. And these opinions have set goals for 2027, 2030, and 2035, and clarifying the respective positioning of the national ETS and the CCER market, and clarifying the key tasks for the comprehensively promoting the construction of the carbon market. So this is very good. The file is very good, and the public version will be released soon. So maybe you can have you will have the public version. And for the next station, China will further refine the relevant key tasks, enhancing the policy expectations, including expanding market coverage of the industries and the types of GHS emissions, and promoting the participation of non-compliant compliant entities in the carbon market, exploring financial products, improving the policies and systems such as carbon pledge and carbon repurchase, and continuously enhancing the market vitality. Such, for example, we know that the healthy and orderly development of carbon finance helps to discover reasonable carbon prices and improve carbon pricing mechanism. at present, the national carbon market has not yet included the financial institutions, while some local carbon markets, pilot markets, allow financial institutions to participate in trading. But from the experience of foreign and local carbon markets, the introduction of financial institutions may face conflicts between the profit-seeking nature of investment institutions and the carbon reduction attributes of the carbon market. So we need to conduct relevant research in advance and strengthen supervision of the trading institutions, trading entities, and third-party service providers, etc. So these tasks will be aligned, and many tasks will be developed. So I think the objective of the 2035 will be met. So you can, with a few days or a few weeks, you will have the public version of the file.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're really looking forward to seeing that as soon as it gets published. I want to come back to Hongmin now, and I will ask you, I mean, first a question about CCRs, because I know that they are in your area of expertise, and we did get a couple of questions about that. More specifically, I wanted to ask you about the internationalization of CCRs. So, the potential of using the CCR mechanism as a way to generate credits also in third countries outside of China. And I wanted to ask you, what are the possible directions that this could take in your view? And on the opposite side, there was also a question asking whether we can expect independent standards such as Verra and Gold Standard to be allowed for compliance in the Chinese ETS. So how do you see this playing out?
Thanks for your question. First, I would like to say for the CCR, definitely it was like copy paste from the CDM period, from like CDM design. And now the CCR, but now the new CCR program is a little bit from the previous, the old CCR program and the old CDM mechanism, which is the CCR now is only for domestic use. Definitely, there is like a space left by the government, left for the internationalized or trying to link with the international programs. But now it's still under discussion, or it's not fully decided yet. But I would like to say back into 2020, actually, the old CCR program was approved by the ICAP as the eligibility program for supplying the ICAP compliance credits. But now for the new CCR program, actually, it's a little bit the design is a little bit from the previous ones because now the CCR is not for the government by the requirements of by the government requirements. Now the CCR is like simplified the approval process by the new credits and the new project registered under the program, which is now the project owner and the verifier are responsible for the real and the uniqueness of the credits and the projects, which is they have the responsibility for take care of the projects. It's not the government approve that the new project and new credits anymore. It's like a so-called, it's like a new like a two-party commitment, which is the project owner and the verifier commit to the real of the emission reductions and the projects. It's a little bit different different from the common practice by the international programs. So I'm not sure whether this would be subject to the future linkage or internalize of the CCR program. And also there's another angle is we need to see how the development of the future Paris Agreement Article 6, especially the Article 6.4 projects or the program's development that would set the bar or the actually internationalized standards for all the voluntary carbon market or the voluntary credits. And I believe that's the thing CSR in the future needs to be looking at. And also for utilizing the CCR in the other country that was subject to what I just described. And for other programs are utilized by the China's national ETS that would be subject to, firstly, it's also subject to the Article 6 design. I believe that would be in the future for trading cross-border of the countries that was subject to the corresponding adjustment. So that's another story. Need to identify by the government is like for now how to trading internationally for the credits, no matter how to buying the international credits or selling the domestic credits to international community by the Chinese government. That would be need to be understand and fully investigated. And other than actually, other than the CCR, I would like to comment is by the World Bank analysis, there's like more than 20 jurisdictions and countries are utilizing their own domestic voluntary or crediting system to offsetting their own compliance market compliance obligations. So that's the similar situation as this year. I believe there's like a global trends or international issues that we need to looking at, not only for the CCR, but also globally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I want to stay with you for one more follow-up question on a different topic, though, because we did get a couple of questions around the potential future expansion of the Chinese ETS to sectors like aviation or maritime transport. What do you think about that? Are we going to see that in the coming years or not yet?
I think based on the government published the guidelines or the notifications for covering the 3 additional sectors recently, the aluminum, cement, and iron and steel. I think by, like also Johannes mentioned, by the end of 2026, all the new 3 sectors won't be facing too much pressure on compliance obligations, which means they will just get ready for future compliance after 2026. And meanwhile, I believe by understanding this, the new sectors are going to be covered for like the petrochemical and chemical aviation, and also paper making would be further down to like 2028. That's my assumptions. But also regarding the shipping sector, but like I mentioned, for all the 4 sectors I mentioned are actually was in the 8 sectors was announced originally by when the China's announced the supplement of the China national ETS. But regarding the shipping sector, which is not including the previous announcement for the original plan for China national ETS, so I believe for now it's still a question mark for whether China gonna covering the shipping sector. But for the scope of the coverage of the sectors, I believe no matter for the aviation or the shipping would be the same. It should subject to the domestic only, because the international segments for now, I believe, should be targeting on the ICAO and the IMO's management. But that's only my personal guess. It's not anything concrete yet.
Thank you. And we are almost at the end of the webinar, but I want to take one final quick question on MRV. And I wonder if Professor Zhu can help us with that one. The question is basically asking if China is considering incorporating direct measurements methods for MRV, which are used in other ETSs as well. Any insights on MRV, Professor Zhu? There may be a connection problem. Anyone else on quickly on MRV? I wonder if Wenia or Hongmin can help out on this one. Hongmin, please.
Maybe Wenia can do better. Could you repeat the question again about MRV?
The question is pointing to the fact that MRV in China relies on calculated values and is asking if China is considering also incorporating direct measurement in in the MRV system.
Okay, actually, most of the questions we actually try to answer in our report. So please feel free to read our report. And regarding the SIMs, I believe China is still it's under discussion for utilizing the SIMs. There's already some pilots in China, especially for the power sector. They were trying to utilizing the SIMs already on some like a pilot. Doing some pilot cases for in the power sector for analyzing their emissions. But definitely regarding the current fully guided regulation or regulated the MRV, its measure still using the calculation based. So for now, I believe the SIMS measured emissions are like a cross-cutting. Sorry, it's like a cross-checking of the calculated emissions. That's the major utilizing right now. But in the future, let's see what that would be, because it's subject to the new rules will be adopted by the MRV rules. That's subject to the new regulations, I believe.
Thank you so much. And yes, for more specific details, I would encourage everyone to have a look at the report that Hongmin just talked about and that EDF has recently published. I am afraid that we are at the end of the webinar and we are slightly over time already. But before we come to a close, I wanted to say a big thank you to the experts and the panelists that have joined us today. So thank you, first of all, Jibin, for organizing and setting up the webinar and for your presentation. Thank you, Hongmin, for your presentation as well, and for all the explanation in the panel discussion. Big thanks to Johannes, Wenia, and Professor Zhu for joining us as well, and for the excellent panel discussion. And obviously, thank you to all of you attendees for being with us today. I'm conscious that we did not get to all the questions we had in the Q&A box, so feel free to send them our way and we will do our best to answer them. Again, the recording of the webinar as well as the presentations will be available on our website in the coming days. With that, thank you for being with us and have a nice rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Sorry for the signal. I missed the question. But yes,
It's
the
fine.
SIMs will be the future.
No
Yes.
problem. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.